chants, slogans of "they must go," quote unquote, resounding across the country. Unofficial deadline given by the protesting groups for the illegal immigrants, remember, to leave is already over. And now the country is witnessing intensified protests in several parts. Six shields and streets on fire. These are the visuals from Johannesburg, the epicenter of the anti-immigrant protests. Following minor skirmishes, security forces escorted some foreign nationals away from a mob. So far, at least 4 people have been killed in the weeks-long demonstrations. Police are out in force to maintain calm during the nationwide protests.
So this was the beginning. So we're going to do this until they leave, until they leave, until government goes into those flats, because basfihlema flatini. So we're not stupid. It's not like just a protest thing, because we're going to carry on and remove the drug dealers, and the saloons need to go back to the hands of the South Africans. They need to vacate those shops that they're operating illegally. All of these shops.
Dramatic scenes unfolded in Durban, where armed forces arrived at a store while it was being looted and vandalized by miscreants, allegedly. Massive contingent of armed forces deployed following these incidents. According to police officials, a foreign national was found dead on the 30th of June after he allegedly jumped from the 8th floor of a building in Durban. So far, over 900 people have been arrested during the nationwide protests.
6 months. From building to building, Mabahag.
And amid the heavy deployment of the security forces, anti-immigrant protesters marching through the streets of Durban. Demonstrators were seen brandishing sticks and traditional shields as well. Sticks and shields, remember, symbolize bravery, ancestral connection and civic identity. In a way, they have become central instruments, in fact, in modern demonstrations. As the demonstrations continue to intensify, the government has ramped up repatriation drives. More than 25,000 people processed for departure in recent weeks. In the past few days alone, nearly 4,300 foreign nationals have been repatriated and more than 400 others have been deported. As the tensions continue to mount, Nigeria, Malawi, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique have organized voluntary repatriation flights and buses for their citizens. South Africa is battling a major job crisis, unemployment rate currently standing above 30%. The situation has directed anger towards foreign nationals. South African president, meanwhile, has warned against blaming migrants for the country's economic pain. Demonstrators argue that illegal foreign nationals are taking away their jobs and services. And to unpack these developments and get us the bigger picture, with us on the broadcast this minute is Edwin Naidu, political commentator, with us on the broadcast from Johannesburg. Thanks very much for being here. I have to begin by asking you for your assessment of the situation on the ground. We just told our viewers about what's been happening in different parts, the sentiment. Where do you think things are headed at this point? And what do you make of these issues and demands that are being raised by the protesters?
Okay. So, yes, thank you. I think it's been very tense after the fact. Yesterday was the protests, and today you've seen, there's been reports of up to 900 people arrested in connection with a variety of incidents, looting of shops and break-ins of homes, etc. So there was one person also killed in a place called Alexandra, which is north of Johannesburg, near a place called Sandton. So I think, the protesters have been raising a mix of legitimate concerns and very contentious claims. I think on the legitimate side, many South Africans are frustrated. There's been persistently high unemployment, slow economic growth, crime, there's pressure on public services, and the perception that government institutions are failing to enforce immigration laws consistently. So these frustrations are real and have been building up for years. The government itself has acknowledged the need to strengthen immigration enforcement and has also increased deportations and border management measures. However, the controversial aspect, is the claim that undocumented migration is the primary cause of South Africa's socio-economic challenges. There's evidence to suggest, however, that the situation is far more complex. Statistics South Africa, which is our statistics agency, estimates that immigrants make up 5.1% of the population. So researchers and government advisory bodies have cautioned against, blaming unemployment, crime, or public service failures only to immigrants. So the protests appear to be drawing support, wide support, because they offer a clear target for public anger at a time, when many citizens feel excluded from economic opportunities. Yet there is a risk, I must say, that the issue is becoming increasingly framed as a struggle between citizens and foreign nationals rather than a broad debate about economic policy or governance and law enforcement, capacity, etc.
Yeah, I was just coming to that because, like you said, one part of this is about how the two should not be linked, foreign nationals and the economic pain or the job crisis. Then again, the question mark points towards the government and the authorities for failing to actually address the root causes of these issues.
Certainly, we've been celebrating 32 years of democracy I think sometime in April, 27th of April. And throughout the year, you've been talking about the gains. But the reality is government has consistently failed to deliver on a broad base of things that matter to economic growth, that matter to creating opportunities. In South Africa right now, the narrative has been about widespread corruption, government leaders enriching themselves and their families. You've had the president embroiled in a controversy around money kept under the sofa, I think something like millions of dollars, and you've had cabinet embroiled in various different controversies. So you can't say that what's happening now is a consequence of just undocumented people in South Africa. I must say that people have been using the narrative, and maybe government to a degree through its lack of action in addressing foreign nationals coming into the country. There's a place called Musina. There's a Beitbridge border post, which is in a province called Limpopo, or borders Limpopo, and from Zim. And people are able to walk in, sometimes apparently without papers, and just walk in and walk past the borders. So that's how lax it's been in one area.
All right.
I don't want to generalize, but it can get worse, probably.
Right, we're leaving it there for the moment, but appreciate very much for your joining us here on the broadcast with your perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you.